So this month is again my turn. And this time I have only 4 days, not 5 days, because I have a plan to go to Beer for another talks. So anyway, very happy to see you all again. So right in the beginning, in the spirit of the Buddhist practice, we need to cultivate good motivation, that I'll learn something from this precious teaching, precious text, and use it in my life for my own well-being and happiness, and for the happiness of many others. So, as we discussed many times, that Buddhism is a teaching that is in harmony with the law of nature. That you must remember. Buddha's teaching is in harmony with the law of nature. We are suffering because we don't know the law of nature, or we do not live in accordance with the law of nature. Law of nature is interdependent origination. It's not made by Buddha. Law of nature is law of nature is impermanence. Law of nature is that we all have suffering. So these are unavoidable reality. And many a times we turn a blind eye to the way things are, to the law of nature. And then we suffer unnecessarily, as I said. Although we want happiness, like we want new breeze, fresh air, but we are so lazy and ignorant, we don't even know how to open the window. I mean, this is just a tiny, small example, you see. Very tiny, small example. And you don't do that because you think, okay, there's so many people, why should I do it? Kind of attitude, you see, that's the thing. So we need to learn from the small things, how you can help yourself and others to have all kinds of happiness, temporary peace, temporary happiness, a long-term peace, long-term happiness. The Bodhisattvas and Buddhas, day and night, their only wish and aspiration is, how can I contribute to the well-being and happiness of others? That's the thing. So therefore, like I choose this particular text, Nagarjuna's precious Garland, both the English and the Tibetan root text version, we published it quite recently. And this is one of my favorite texts. I have a number of favorite texts. And I wish to disseminate them, I wish to publish them slowly. And now I have determined to publish the commentary of this text, the Tibetan version at least we have. There are 2-3 commentaries. There are not many commentaries, unfortunately. So that's the thing, you see. People who do not know the value of these texts and teachings, they will not take care of these things. And how much has been destroyed in Tibet. Now the few, like in the case of Bodhicharyavatara Shantideva's text, in Tibet we used to have more than 100 different commentaries. Now today we have around maybe 20 commentaries. So therefore it is again the responsibility of all of us to read these texts, understand their meaning, and make our own effort how to preserve these values. Because what is disappearing quickly in today's world is these perennial values. And who is going to suffer if we lose these perennial values? We are going to suffer. Okay, if there is an earthquake like the one we had in Japan, followed by one in Ecuador, these are natural disasters. There is nothing much we can do, but it does not mean to say that we cannot do anything. Like right in the beginning, when we did the construction, if we did it nicely, there's less likelihood of people being killed, you see. So in many places in the world, as has happened in Nepal, more than 9,000 people died, killed. There's the number they found, more than 9,000. Because of poor construction, illegal construction, not concerned about others' well-being, you see. So that's why we unnecessarily suffer. So if we have some kind of value system, some kind of concern for the well-being of others, whatever we do, we'll do it properly. And our topmost priority will be whether this is good for the health of other people. Like, for example, if you are selling something also, you will see whether it's really, not only you get some money, but it's good for other people's health or not. And what we get most of the time in the market, most of these are not good. Like recently somebody made a testing with all these drinks, Coca-Cola and all other soft drinks, fruit juices and water. And it turned out water is the best and the cheapest. You see? But we don't pay attention to this. We just waste money buying all these soft drinks, which is not good for one's health, because of ignorance. So therefore, these teachings really are like eye-opener. And much of our suffering is, I call our sufferings as unnecessary sufferings. His Holiness calls it man-made sufferings, man-made problems. Man-made problems, man-made disasters are essentially unnecessary problems. So at least we should not end up creating these unnecessary problems. And that we can do if we study these texts, listen to this kind of texts, reflect on them, and meditate, which means make it a part of our daily life. And that is not easy. You need to make constant effort. Just like a person who has been bedridden and suffering from a chronic illness for a long, long time, can we expect that just take one dose of medicine or one tablet of medicine and he'll be all right? No. So we are like that bedridden person suffering from a long chronic disease. Just one dose of teaching, one session of teaching is not going to do much. It will help you a little bit, but not much. Because the basic problem is we are more habituated with what is not so healthy, because that is easier, and not so habituated with what is good, because that is more difficult, because there are not many people doing that. The other thing, there are so many people are doing the not so good thing. So there is a crowd, there is support, So you end up running where everybody is running. And that is what we are doing today. Everybody says, I'm busy, I'm busy. And most of the time you are busy in not so good things. And also when we talk about transforming the mind, where mind is something that is not directly visible to us. And we are a bunch of people who pay more attention to what is visible, something that you can see, oh, there's a sweet, you will appreciate it. You hear a song, oh, it's so nice. It's something directly your senses can perceive. So you keep on, you spend almost your whole life chasing after these sensual objects. Something to see, something to hear, something to taste, something to smell, something to touch. We spend whole of our life on that. So our focus is on these sensual objects. We don't get much time to go within. We don't give much opportunity to the mind to reflect within and get transformed, get empowered. And this is dangerous, because if you leave your mind ignorant, stupid and foolish, and let the senses dictate you, or let your unruly mind untouched, then it is this unruly, undisciplined mind which will in turn dictate you and control you, because at the end of the day, it is your mind which controls you, which dictates you. It is not so much about your friend, your company, but it's primarily your mind, which is your boss, which dictates you what to do, what not to do. So imagine if you have a mind which is unruly, undisciplined, stupid, destructive. it is 100% sure that you will be taken into the wrong direction. So therefore, the whole thrust and purpose of this practice is how to empower the mind, how to develop a wisdom mind, how to develop a mind with love, mind with compassion, so that your boss is really compassionate one, your boss is one with wisdom. That's what we are doing. So Dharma practice is actually kind of revolting against the wrong political system, as we do during an election. So right now, at least we can imagine two political parties in our mind: the negative party, the party of destructive emotion, and the party of constructive positive emotions. So right now, the party of positive emotion, constructive emotion, is very, very weak. The party of destructive emotion is very powerful, and it has already won many elections. And it's already captured the headquarters of your mind. And the president and prime minister, which is now elected by the destructive emotions, are self-cherishing attitude and self-grasping mind. So you are being ruled by self-cherishing attitude and self-grasping mind. Now you can see where you are. You can easily see where you are, who is your boss, So we are ruled by destructive emotions, self-cherishing attitude and self-grasping. Self-grasping means ignorance, which sees things as having inherent independent existence. Self-cherishing attitude means thinking only about oneself and completely ignoring the well-being of others. That's the problem. That is the source of all kinds of not only mental illnesses, but also physical illnesses. The more and more you get obsessed with this self-cherishing attitude, I, me, mine, all the time you keep on making these self-references, the more your outlook becomes narrow. You develop the tunnel vision. And because of that, even if you encounter a small problem, you tend to magnify it. See it as of great magnitude, unsurmountable, and unnecessarily you suffer. Instead, if you replace this self-cherishing attitude with bodhicitta, self-grasping with wisdom, understanding, emptiness, your mental outlook becomes widened. You are able to develop this universal sense of responsibility. And that makes a huge difference. And because of such a strong dimension of the positive emotions, even if you personally encounter suffering, you will not be cowed, you will not be weakened by these negative emotions. Most of the time we suffer because we have such a tunnel, small, narrow vision, So that's the problem. Because of that narrow vision, you suffocate yourself. So that's why these teachings are saying that understand the reality. Think more about the well-being of others. Because you are connected to the rest of the sea of human beings or other sentient beings. The more you show love, the more you show compassion, the more you live in harmony with these people, the more you will flourish. You are not making a self-sacrifice. The more you continue to do in the same way that you have been doing before, that is thinking just about oneself and completely ignore others, you may be thinking that you are a very clever person, is by doing that, you see. But it is the stupid way of taking care of oneself, because at the end of the day, you will be the one who will suffer. So this is what is being pointed out in this text. So this text, of course, focuses on teaching the meaning of emptiness, but at the same time, it is also teaching about how to lead a good life. This text is taught to one of Nagarjuna's friends, a king. So he was telling the king that, look, you're a king, you're a very busy person, but you must try your best to do these spiritual practices. And even if you are able to do a very small partial practice, one practice like giving, sincerely, nicely, just by that practice you will shine out, you will flourish. So that's the thing, you see. So this is really is talking about the higher levels of Buddhist teaching, as well as some of the secular ethics, which His Holiness is talking so much about. Okay? So in this 4 days let us see whether we can finish this 100 verses, but otherwise not a big deal. So the name of this text, so those of you who have this text or the photocopy of this text, you can read it. Sanskrit, Raja Parikatha Ratnamali, Tibetan Jabula Tamshawa Rinpoche Tingwa. So in the English this is called Precious Garland, an advice for the king. So the chapter 1 is on higher rebirth and highest excellence. Higher rebirth, sometimes it has been translated as higher status. That means obtaining the life of a human being or a celestial god. Excellence means achieving nirvana and enlightenment or Buddhahood. First, the text pays homage to, I prostrate to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Why should one prostrate to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas? Because Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are those great beings who had developed the precious mind of bodhicitta, who had developed loving kindness, who had developed compassion, who had developed wisdom, understanding, emptiness. And bodhicitta is such a precious mind. There cannot be a mind which is more superior than bodhicitta. Because bodhicitta is a mind which is saying that may I achieve enlightenment or Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. For the benefit of all sentient beings. They. For the benefit of all sentient beings. May I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Look at this. The objective is to achieve the highest state, that is to become a Buddha. For what? To benefit all sentient beings. It is not saying that may I become a Buddha or a Bodhisattva so that I can go for a long holiday and relax. It is saying that even when I become a Buddha, my purpose will be to help the suffering sentient beings. It's talking about all sentient beings, which includes your enemies, those that have been bothering you, pestering you. You see? Because from the parlance of a Buddha and Bodhisattvas, sentient beings, whether they are helping you or harming you, they are all ignorant. They are suffering because of ignorance. There is nobody who wants to suffer. But because of ignorance, they end up doing something which leads to suffering, which leads to problem. So normally the example that is given is, for example, if your very kind mother, who is right now insane and doing all kinds of destructive things against you, but you will develop more love and compassion to their mother with the realization that my mother is doing like this not because she wants to do that, but because she is insane. Her mind is not functioning, therefore she is doing all these bad things against me. So with that realization, you will show more love and more affection to their mother. So similarly, even those sentient beings who are very nasty, very destructive to you, they are doing that because they are ignorant. Out of ignorance, not only they harm others, but they harm themselves. There are cases of people who commit suicide out of ignorance, not knowing the right solution. So therefore, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they wish to become Buddha to help all the other sentient beings. The aspiration of Buddha and Bodhisattva is, in the case of the Bodhisattva, they want to become a Buddha. And in the case of Buddha, even after becoming a Buddha, they want to continuously help others. So the Bodhisattvas, they do not make an objective or aim saying that may I become a billionaire so that I have billions of dollars and help other sentient beings. Of course, they will materially help others as much as they can, but they know clearly that that is not the ultimate solution. Material accumulation is not the ultimate answer. Now, the more and more we run after material accumulation, the more and more we are able to clearly see that there is a limit that material development can bring. And we are seeing the limit already. So therefore, if we want to get that long-lasting peace and happiness, the solution lies here, not so much outside. I'm not saying that you don't need material facilities. We do need material facilities. But I'm talking about the source for ultimate, long-lasting peace and happiness. That is to come from within one's own mind. That is to come by developing a right mental outlook and mental perspective. Okay? Whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, you have to help yourself. That's what these Buddhist teachings are saying. At the end of the day, you may count many things. Okay, my money will help me, my brother will help me, my sister will help me, my husband will help me, my wife will help me, so on and so forth. That's how we have been living for many lives, many centuries. Yes, good husband, good wife, good brother, good sister can help you to some extent. But there is a limit that they can do. That's what I'm saying. There's a limit that they can do. They cannot enter into your brain, into your head, into your mind and think for you, transform your mind into a state of permanent peace and happiness. They cannot do that for you. You have to make effort. And that's why the Buddha said, I've shown you the path to liberation. Liberation is up to you. It is something that, if it is something that can be granted, then the Buddha should have granted this to us long time before, because he is compassionate, he cares about us. He should have given this long time back. But that is simply not possible. Simply not possible. So therefore, the only way to get that long-lasting peace and happiness, the reliable peace and happiness, is by cultivating these inner qualities within oneself. Many of you who attended my previous talks, I think you've heard what I mentioned earlier. For example, if you look at the reality, what is outside of us, be it your friend, relative, money, whatever, the changing situations, the changing events, those that are outside of you, you don't have control. You don't have control. So how can you get that long-lasting peace and happiness from those over which you have no control? It is wrong to think that your friend, your relatives, wealth, money, they are all there to entertain you. They have their life. The sun does not shine and disappear seeing whether it is suitable to your mental temperament or not. The cloud does not come and go seeing whether it's suitable to you or not. They go there in accordance with their own nature. Similarly, people live and go and die and whatever according to their own nature. They are not there to entertain you. They are not there to give you long-lasting peace and happiness. But how would, so if you are completely dependent on the changing situations, events, or for people, then as and when the situation changes, people changes, which will. People will die, your dear friends and relatives will die. Situations will change, that's what we talk about, impermanence, you see. So if you're wholly dependent on that person, that situation, that event, and then when the event changes, situation changes, person changes, you're dumbfounded. Oh, my dear friend died. What can I do? Nobody to take care of me. That's what we do all the time. So therefore the Buddha says, if you want that long-lasting peace and happiness, then you should realize the fact that these are all impermanent, transient, changing. You cannot expect that long-lasting peace and happiness from those changing situations. But how would you react to that changing situations, events? That is under your control. So therefore realize impermanence, realize suffering, realize death. And after the realization of all these different aspects of realities, ensure that you are able to maintain that peace and happiness. Because the real peace and happiness is needed when there is turbulence. Medicine is needed when you are sick. When you are healthy and not sick, you don't need medicine. Dharma is needed. Proper mental perspective is needed when things are not going according to your desire and aspiration. So how to maintain peace and happiness in a changing world? There's the question. How to maintain sanity in an insane world? That is the question. So maintaining sanity in an insane world, maintaining happiness in a changing world, that is what is taught in Buddhism. So therefore it's very, very important, very, very important. And especially in today's world, where we are being taught that your happiness will come from this person, this wealth, this collection of material goods. And you anchor your life on those things. And when this outside thing doesn't function, then you think, oh, this is not so good, I was a mistake, but I will anchor into this one. My marriage with this person didn't go because this person is not so good, I made a mistake, but I'll change this and marry another one. Then I will have happiness and peace. Same. So you keep on changing the external situation. Your furniture, your house, everything, place, you keep on changing, never changing yourself. And look at how we use technology. All the time we talk about updating the mobile phone, updating the iPad, updating the telephone, whatever, updating everything except yourself. The person remains totally as it was, never updated, you see. So therefore the Buddha's teaching is saying, update yourself. Updating here doesn't really mean that you embrace the new science, technology, things like that. Updating basically means that develop awareness about the way things are. Develop reality. Do not get stuck in ignorance, in short-sightedness. Okay? So I prostrate to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I prostrate to them. I pay homage to them. When you say I pay homage to you, you are basically saying I like the qualities in you. So you need to know the qualities of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. There are many, many qualities, but one of the most important qualities is the bodhicitta and wisdom, understanding, emptiness. Okay? Thoroughly freed from all defects and adorned with all good qualities, to the sole friend of all sentient beings, the omniscient one, I prostrate. Now in the case of the Buddha, like in this Buddhist text, you can see, I prostrate to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You pay homage to the great beings. Then in the first verse also, you prostrate to the Buddha. Why do you pay homage right in the beginning to these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas? This shows that you are somebody who is trying to achieve those great qualities. You are somebody who is admiring these great qualities. And that itself is a big thing. To admire good people, to admire good qualities in good people, that's a big thing, especially in today's world. To talk about these great qualities is a big thing. So therefore, in ancient times, you would write in the beginning, not only in a text, but right in the morning, you pay homage. You pay respect to your parents. You pay respect to the teachers. Those things were there. Now these things are disappearing these days. You don't pay homage to anybody. You think I am the big boss. I am the self-made person kind of attitude, you see. So that's the problem. So it's important to develop some sense of humility. By paying homage to these great beings, you are developing some kind of humility. And on the basis of humility, you are able to, you prepare yourself, you make yourself receptive to higher qualities. So humility is a big thing. And what is against humility is arrogance. That I'm somebody. I don't need to learn from this person, that person. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. And this word we use all the time. I know. Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, I know. I know. All the time. You don't know much. Thoroughly freed from all defects. So the Buddhas are those great beings who have removed not only one kind of defect, but who have removed all kind of defects, which primarily means negative emotions and the sufferings which are the results of these negative emotions. It's not only that they have removed the defects, but they also possess all the great qualities. Meaning that the Buddhas are not like this table. This table is probably without defect in terms of negative emotions. The table doesn't have a negative emotion. But that's not enough, because it doesn't have those good qualities like love, compassion, wisdom, and so forth. So Buddha is not like a table without defects. The Buddha is somebody who, through his endeavor, removed all the negative, destructive emotions and who have cultivated all the good qualities. And he is not somebody who removed some defect from himself and have some good qualities but doesn't care about other beings. The qualities that he has developed primarily rest on loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. So therefore, the sole friend of all sentient beings. He is the only friend of all sentient beings. He is the only friend of all sentient beings in the sense that most of us, first of all, we don't make good friendship with everybody. Even in the case of those few who we say, my friend, but still there are a lot of business going on. My dear friend, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. That's called business. But Buddha's friendship is unconditional. Buddha's friendship is unconditional because he loves all sentient beings. He cares about sentient beings because he realizes that they are ignorant, they are suffering, they are helpless. So with this concern, he became a friend of all sentient beings. And he is also a friend in the true sense of the term because he is somebody, he is not only an ordinary friend, but he is a spiritual friend. Geshe Shinye, Kalyan Mitra, Geshe Shinye. Spiritual friend means one who will guide you how to proceed to the highest happiness, the Buddhahood, enlightenment. As is being explained in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, when you associate with somebody, by living together and by associating with some people, if your defects, if your faults, if your misdemeanors are decreasing, and your positive qualities are increasing like waxing moon, then that person truly is your spiritual friend. Contrarily, by associating with somebody, if your positive qualities are decreasing, your negative qualities are increasing, then you are clearly associating with a destructive, negative friend. Doesn't really matter, he or she may have invited you for dinner and parties and so many things, may have given you a lot of money, but still the reality is that you are associating with a destructive, negative friend. So you have to be very, very careful. The so-called negative friends will not come to you with horns on the head and bearing fangs and wearing frightening black clothes. But they will come as very nice friend. Let us go for a holiday. Let us have fun. Oh, don't worry about money. I'll spend the money. They'll tell you all those things. So in this way you may be cheated, you may be duped, and you may be taken into the wrong place. And if you get addicted to many of these wrong ways of life, you will not be able to come out of it. So it's important to be very careful about with whom you associate. So to the sole friend of all sentient beings, the omniscient one, I prostrate. Second, I'm just reading the translation. I'm not necessarily agreeing with all the translations, but we are using this text. So, O King, for you to practice Dharma, I will teach whatever is holy, virtuous, for it is the vessel of excellent Dharma. The practice of Dharma becomes possible. So it's basically saying that to help you, the king, to practice Dharma, I will teach you this Dharma which is completely virtuous. So he's basically saying, he's telling the king that since you are interested in the Dharma, I am teaching you this Dharma. A Dharma which is wholly virtuous. Wholly virtuous means, in the case of Dharma practice, if you do it sincerely, it is good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end. For example, if you develop compassion, it is good in the beginning, it is good in the middle, it is good in the end. It is not that it is good for a few days and then become very bad later on. If you genuinely develop loving kindness, it's good for all time to come. So that's what he is saying. I will teach whatever is wholly virtuous. For it is in the vessel of excellent Dharma. Now this translation basically means, if you are a fit student of this sublime Dharma, if you are a proper student of this Dharma, then practice of Dharma becomes possible. That means the teaching, the Dharma itself is very precious, of course. But how much you are able to digest, how much you are able to receive is dependent upon whether your mind is ready or not. If you are a proper student, proper listener, in the case of this king, he was very, very interested in the teaching. So therefore, Nagarjuna is saying that you are a proper student. You are proper students. So therefore, the practice of Dharma becomes possible. So that means if you really show interest and delight in the teaching, it becomes very easy. If you don't show much interest, if you don't delight in your practice, it becomes very boring, very difficult. Oh, why I'm sitting here, So there must be delight. Now when it comes to the actual teaching, he says, verse number 3, first the factors of higher rebirth, then of highest excellence, as it is after attaining higher rebirth that highest excellence gradually ensured. So that means I'll teach you two things. How to achieve human life, life of a celestial being, which is called higher status. So you must attain that first, because if you don't achieve the life of a human being, instead you achieve the life of a cow or a dog, then you cannot proceed towards enlightenment. You cannot practice towards liberation or nirvana. So therefore, first you must achieve the life of a good human being. And once you achieve that higher rebirth, like that of life of a human being, then naturally there is a possibility to actualize the higher excellence. That means nirvana and enlightenment. As it is after attaining the higher rebirth that highest excellence gradually ensures. Very clear. So this is also clearly saying that now, and I remember His Holiness teaching this when he was teaching Lamrim. That sometimes when we read the Lamrim, then we think, oh, may I achieve a good human rebirth next life. So His Holiness would say, this is quite stupid. Because the human life, you have already obtained this human life. And you are not using this one in praying for the next life that I become a human being. You see? So therefore, the first and the foremost important thing is that you should appreciate that you are a human being. You obtain this precious human life, which is really, really difficult to actualize. And once a Western nun asked me the question, Geshe-la, teach me meditation. I jokingly told her that you meditate that you are not a human being, but a cow. You meditate that you are a cow. At least this whole morning, you imagine that you are a cow. If you sincerely imagine yourself as a cow, then where would you eat? Where would you have your breakfast? Where would you sleep? You see? So if you do this kind of comparative study, then you will start appreciating what it means to be a human being. Nothing much to complain, you know. Look at the cows and dogs, you know. So therefore, appreciate this human life. Appreciating human life does not mean so much about the physical strength and things like that, but it's primarily in terms of the human intelligence, the capacity to judge between what is right and what is wrong. That not other animals have. And it is based on this human intelligence that we are more or less controlling the whole world. But according to the Buddhist teaching, the way we are using our human intelligence today is definitely not in the right direction. Even if you are able to invent all these gadgets, machines and so forth, may be useful temporarily, but it's not the solution of all the problems. So therefore, use your human intelligence and think about those causes and conditions which would bring long-term peace and happiness for oneself and for other sentient beings. If you use this human intelligence only for creating more and more material products, whether it is producing the artificial human intelligence or a talking computer or whatever, and it's funny, it's interesting, it's funny, but it will not solve our human problem. So therefore, we need to cultivate these inner qualities by using human intelligence properly. So the next question is, if your target is to achieve that good human rebirth and also nirvana and enlightenment, what are the causes and conditions for that? This is explained in verse number 4. Verse number 4 says that higher rebirth basically means happiness. That means the happiness that we enjoy in the life of a human being. And highest excellence is liberation. Sometimes it is translated as definite goodness, because once you achieve liberation, there is no falling back. There is no coming back to the samsara, so therefore it's definite goodness. They are source of attainment. Now, since these two are our objectives, obtaining a good human rebirth and achieving liberation, these are our objectives of our practice. What are the causes for them? And he says the source of attainment, if briefly explained, are faith and wisdom. So the two main qualities are there. In order to achieve them, you need to have faith and you need to have wisdom. Two things. Now with faith, there are two kinds of faith. One is the faith of not very intelligent people, where they listen to somebody and simply follow it, without thinking, without reflecting, without developing discriminative awareness. So that is called the faith of the people whose minds are dull and not very intelligent. So today, if they listen to a very eloquent teacher, they will say, "Oh, he's so good, I have faith in him." Next day he meets some other teacher who says just the opposite. He will say, "Oh, he's very good, I have faith in him." That has actually happened at the time of the Buddha. there was a village which was visited by many visiting spiritual teachers. So all of them give a teaching, and they would say that this is the short path, this is the best teaching, And next day someone else comes and gives a different kind of teaching, but saying the same thing. This is the best teaching, the shortcut to enlightenment, whatever, So they got confused. So they went to the Buddha and said, this is what we are experiencing. So it's difficult for us to judge who is right, who is wrong, what should we do? Then the Buddha said, use your brain. Use your brain. That means don't simply just develop faith because somebody said so, but you should reason it out. Think it out for yourself. Ask questions. So we should, generally speaking, when those of us who follow the Mahayana teaching, we should develop a faith which is based on reason, which is based on knowledge. If you develop a faith which is based on knowledge, then that faith will remain stable. It will be reliable. Okay? Faith. So faith basically means developing a clarity of mind. For example, when you see His Holiness Dalai Lama, you develop some kind of clarity in your mind, purity in your mind, the wish to completely get lost in him, see him and then talk good things about him, oh, I saw His Holiness Dalai Lama, So that kind of clarity of faith. Faith is of different kinds. One kind of faith we say is, the three kind of faiths have been explained. One kind of faith is like a lustful person seeing a beautiful woman. When a lustful person sees a beautiful woman, he gets completely mesmerized. Wow, so beautiful. Your mind completely opens to that person. So faith is like that. Faith is like that. Or it can also be explained like a person who is suffering from thirst, didn't get water for a long time, the climate is very hot, and looking for water. So your faith should be like that person who is dying of thirst and looking for water. How soon I will be able to get water? How nice if I'm able to get water as soon as possible. You are open to it. Or it could also be explained like the trust that an innocent child places to her mother. Because to that innocent child, her mother is her world. So the faith should be like this kind of examples. So once you have that kind of faith, there is complete trust, complete going after that. And especially if you develop that faith based on reason, then it will be very stable and will not change with the changing situations and events. Having faith, one relies upon Dharma. Faith is important because if you have faith, especially faith based on reason, as I said, then you will be able to know the value of the Dharma. Because by faith, if you have faith, if you have liking, faith is kind of liking, if you have delight, if you have liking, with the faith you will know the Dharma. With faith you will go against the negative activities, go against wrongdoings. And if you don't have the faith, if you don't have the faith, there is no possibility to develop any kind of virtuous qualities. Just like we cannot produce good, green seedlings from a burnt seed. The seed itself is burnt, then we cannot hope to produce any plant or seedling from that. So faith is really the one that prepares, opening the inner door, makes you receptive to the teaching. So if you have faith, having faith, one relies upon Dharma. And if you have the wisdom, then one realizes the truth. Here when we talk about wisdom, we are talking about the analytical wisdom, analytical meditation. And through analysis, he will be able to understand the different layers of the truth. Of these two, wisdom is primary. Of these two, what is most important is wisdom. But yet it is faith that precedes. Because faith has always been compared to a mother. Just like the son and daughters, they come from the mother, similarly, it's the faith from where all other kind of positive qualities prosper and develop. Because if you have faith, then you will engage in the practices of development of the 10 virtuous qualities. And if you have that wisdom understanding the profound reality of emptiness, you will be able to see the truth as it is. Now, if you ask out of these two which one is of greater importance, then of course the one which is of greater importance is the wisdom understanding emptiness, because it is this wisdom understanding emptiness which cuts the root of samsara, which counteracts against ignorance. Therefore, it is the one which is more important. But in order to develop such a wisdom, you must first develop a faith in the infallibility of cause and effect, karma, that if you produce such a cause, such fruits will arise. So that kind of incontrovertibility, infallibility of the cause-effect relationship. Because if you don't have any trust about this, the law of causality, then you will not engage in such practices. Because without having preceded by a faith towards the law of causality, it is impossible for the wisdom to destroy the afflictive emotions. Then in the verse number 6, he is talking about the features and characteristics of a proper student who can listen to this teaching. A proper vessel or proper student for such teaching is one who does not violate the Dharma out of desire, out of hatred, out of fear, out of ignorance. So if you are a practitioner who does not violate Dharma out of desire, out of hatred, out of fear, out of ignorance, then you can call yourself as really faithful one. Because otherwise, like normally we say, oh, I want to do this practice, that practice, but out of desire, out of greed, you violate the Dharma. Out of anger, you violate the Dharma. So it's almost like saying that when nobody is disturbing me, I will have faith. But somebody says something negative, you flare out. You become angry. You violate the Dharma. So that shows your faith is not stable. Your faith is not stable. Your faith should be so strong, so stable, that in the face of all these challenges, in the face of desire, in the face of anger, in the face of disturbing situations, in the face of ignorance, you should be able to maintain your faith to the Dharma and not violating them due to these negative emotions. And if you are such a faithful person, then you can be easily termed as the best student for highest excellence, for nirvana, for nirvana and enlightenment. Now, to explain this point a little bit more, for example, normally you may be saying, I have a lot of faith in the Dharma and things like that, but out of a strong desire to eat meat, you might end up killing animals. Things like, so this is an example. So with your desire, you transgress the teaching. And if you develop a wish, thinking that I will definitely harm this person who has been harming me for the last many, many years, then again you are transcending the Dharma, you are violating the Dharma. Or you may be a good practitioner normally, but if you end up living under a very stupid, short-sighted, arrogant king, a terrorist king, then in order to follow that king, you might stop doing your practice. So that is violating the Dharma out of fear. Out of fear. So you should not violate the Dharma under these situations. Because you will not violate the Dharma under these difficult situations because you have strong faith in the law of causality. And it is said that the bodhisattvas, even if they are threatened, even if they are threatened to be killed, still they would not do something negative because they have the full conviction that this will lead me to negative consequences. So such should be our determination. Whoever, having thoroughly examined the actions of body, speech and mind, knowingly acts to benefit oneself and others at all times is indeed wise. If you want to call yourself as a wise person, then you should thoroughly examine your physical action, your verbal action, your mental action. And whatever you are going to do, you do it with full awareness, with full knowledge. Then you can be termed as an intelligent person, a wise person. I mean, this is very important teaching because normally we act as if we are sleeping. For example, Buddha is called Sangye. Sangye. Sang means one who is purified all the negative emotions. In other words, Sang means fully awake. Gye means developed, one who is fully awake and developed. Now when we use this epithet to the Buddha, one who is fully awake, it also has the implication that we are not awake, which means we are sleeping. Of course you will say, I am not sleeping, I am attending Geshe Lhakdor's talk. Yes, you are listening to somebody's talk, but still you are listening to their talk while sleeping. We can listen to somebody's talk while dreaming. We get a dream of listening to somebody, we get a dream of shopping in the market while dreaming. We can have those kind of experiences. And more importantly, you may be awake to not so important things, but you are not awake on those subjects which you should be awake in. You are sleeping. We are sleeping in ignorance. You are not awake from the sleep of ignorance. So that way you are sleeping. So we are kind of sleepwalking. So when we are, it is because we are not awake, we end up doing all kinds of stupid things. So therefore, as a first step, what we should do is, that's what he is saying here, as a first step, what we should do is, at least whatever you are doing on an ordinary level, you do it with full presence. Now I am walking. Now I am talking to somebody. Now I am listening to the teaching. When you are listening to teaching, your whole being should be here. It's not that you are physically here, mentally shopping in McLeodganj, or worried about the booking you made at Hotel Tibet. It's possible, you see, because the monkey mind, is wandering everywhere, in all directions. It's jumping, peeping from all the doors and windows, It's just waiting for that opportunity and chance to run wild. So therefore it is very, very difficult to control the mind. So therefore it's important to be awake and present, fully awake in the given situation, given moment. It is through this way that you will enjoy your life. It is through this way you will enjoy your life, and you will also learn a lot of things. You will also accomplish a lot of things. We are unable to accomplish many things. We are unable to enjoy many things because we are not present. You are physically present here. Your physical body is your home. So your home is here. But the owner of the home, which is the mind, is wandering. Most of the time, the owner of the home, the mind, is wandering everywhere and hardly returns to the home, hardly takes care of the home, and the home is getting dusty. It's filthy. We don't clean it. So the negative emotions, dust of negative emotions, anger, jealousy, they are all there and nobody takes care of it. You see. And in fact, recently I was reading this area, there was 400 verses. There's one verse which says, Sulang sumba she jawa semji kichi le me kivu tingi merik ba thena dagni sheba ku. Very powerful verse that says, whoever you are, when we talk about being alive, of course you will say, I'm alive. I'll say, I'm alive. What do you mean by being alive? Being alive means only one moment. Being alive means one moment. So if you are not alive in this moment, you are dead, more or less you are dead. You are not able to enjoy it, then the next moment will take place. And if you are not able to live in it, next moment will take place. So in this way, all the opportunities are slipping, like you are missing the opportunity. You are not living. You are not living. It is only one moment of the mind which you call as being living. And people don't know that. And people don't know that. Therefore, to know oneself is the most difficult thing. There are very few people who know themselves. Very powerful. So therefore, as this text is pointing out, that you should be physically, verbally, mentally, fully present whatever you are doing. Then you will enjoy. Like the small kids playing outside the window. They are fully alive on that very moment. And they are able to enjoy that small rusty toy, broken toy. It may be a broken toy, but they are enjoying it, They are fully there. They are happy. But as we grow up, we become more calculating. What will happen after 10 years? Oh, I should work hard. Then after 10 years, I'll get married, I'll be happy. After 10 years, I'll be able to buy the house, then I will be happy. So in this way, you're killing yourself. You're killing yourself right now. Maung bai da hing suela rewa maina dagni sungla dagni ne namju denshi sushima. Another verse from that same chapter. If you read these verses are found in the first chapter of Arya, there was 400 verses. Maung bai da hing. If you aim towards the future, what is called future, maung bai da hing. Suela rewa maina, and you don't pay attention don't pay any attention to this life that you are living right now and keep on planning for the future, then you sell yourself. Then you sell yourself. That's actually we are doing. We are selling ourselves with the expectation that you will get something in the future. With expectation that you are going to get something. Right now you are more or less you are selling yourself. Undergoing all kind of difficulties, sufferings, thinking that one day I will be happy. And if you live such a life, then who will call you as an intelligent person? You are the most stupid person. You don't know how to live your life. You are selling yourself, you are wasting your life. So enjoy the moment. So I think that is what more or less he is saying. Whoever having thoroughly examined the actions of body, speech and mind, knowingly acts, because knowingly acts means normally we end up doing many negative, destructive things because we don't act knowingly. We act unknowingly. We act in ignorance. We act in sleep. So if you wake up and be aware and alert, it's very likely that you will end up doing many of these stupid, destructive things. We end up doing all these stupid, destructive things because we do all these things while we are sleeping, not fully awake. So that's the point. Knowingly acts to benefit oneself and others at all times, not only on few occasions when you have a good mood, in all occasions, because there's nothing better than this that you can do. In all occasions, just like you are eating food. You eat food all the time because it is important, it's something that must be done. So similarly, helping other sentient beings is extremely, extremely important. So therefore, at all times, if you do those things with full awareness, full cognizance to benefit, to bring long-term benefit to oneself and to others, then you are termed as a wise person. Okay? Yeah, seems that way, yeah. Finished. I don't think we'll be able to finish it, but don't worry about it. Whatever we read, if we know the meaning properly, it's better. But I'll make sure that we'll get enough time for question answers. Okay? So Dharma through discussion is very, very important. I'm not saying I have all the answers. Okay, but if we bring up some topics of discussion, not necessarily what we read here, but other topics also. If you have any burning question that has been bothering you for a long time, then we should discuss those questions. Because by studying this text, we should really be able to get benefit, at least in this life. Even if to talk about achieving nirvana and enlightenment is very important, but to be honest, it's not that easy for us to understand all these metaphysical things. But at least how urgent and important these teachings are for the long-lasting peace and happiness of this life, of oneself and others. We have to develop that understanding. Otherwise it will become again another routine exercise, Somebody says something, somebody listens, then finish, and nothing, no improvement. Then it's really wastage of time. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama is working so hard, so repeatedly. He is now nearly 81. But he is tirelessly working because he is able to clearly see that the values are degenerating. Fundamental good human values are degenerating. Recently, on 7th April, I attended this one-day meeting on secular ethics education with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in New Delhi. And where he clearly said that we must work hard to teach secular ethics, especially to the younger generation, the future generation. The elderly generation is not easy to change. I'm not saying totally hopeless, but what is really important, the future generation, their mindset must be transformed, must be changed. The universal sense of responsibility, the oneness of humanity, the interconnected reality of everything, all these basic teachings that is found in Buddhism, but not necessarily as a Buddhist teaching, but as a universal value system, as a universal teaching, is very, very not only important, but very, very urgent. So those of you who are interested, we have already prepared the draft of that secular ethics education. We are circulating it. We are inviting feedbacks, and we hope to gradually come up with an institution so that we are able to teach secular ethics education from kindergarten to college level. So that's the big plan, and I'm personally very strongly involved in that. So if anybody is interested, you give me your email, I'll send you that draft manuscript. And if you have feedback, wonderful. Even if you don't have, spread the idea around, see how it is important. If it is important, then we all need to talk about it. That's how we can, bring about some change and make difference in the world. It's not just one person like His Holiness talking, We should all be talking with him. And for such teaching and for such deeper understanding, studying of texts like this is extremely, extremely important. And of course, when we talk about secular ethics education, it is not based on any religious tradition. We can bring some universal examples from any source, but it will be primarily evidence-based. By living this, how it is good for you. By living this, how it is bad for you. Evidence-based, based on common sense, based on common experience, based on scientific findings. We should try to convince the people that, look, this is what you need to do for long-lasting peace and happiness and harmony in the world. Okay, thank you.